Alright, so we are in 2.3 biconditionals and definitions. So let's look at the solve it. Look at the examples of the insects and non-insects below. How would you complete the following sentence? If an animal is an insect, then blah blah blah. Explain your reasoning. So as we look into these beautiful, beautiful pictures, and you go through this section, we're leaning into biconditional now. And that's when a statement and its converse is true. It can go both ways. So it's an if and only if. An if and only if can be rewritten as IFF, all capital, or a double arrow. So let's look at the first problem. What is the converse of the following true conditional? If the converse is also true, rewrite the statements as a biconditional. That means write it as if and only if. So, if the sum of the measures of two angles is 180, then the two angles are supplementary. So that means that the converse, if it's P then Q, then our converse is going to be Q then P. So, let's identify our P. Our P is the hypothesis. It's the beginning. The sum of the measures of two angles is 180. That's our P. Our Q is the conclusion. Two angles are supplementary. So when we write the converse, it's going to be, if two angles are supplementary, then the sum of the measures of the two angles is 180. Is that true? Yes, it is. The statement is true. So now we can put this as an if and only if. Two angles are supplementary if and only if the sum of the measure of the two angles is 180. So why don't we try the got it? Alright, moving to problem 2. Let's see. Nope. Okay. What are the two conditional statements that form this biconditional? A ray is an angle bisector if and only if it divides an angle into two congruent angles. So what are the two conditional statements that form this biconditional? That means that we need the original statement and the converse. So first let's look at our P. A ray is an angle bisector if and only if it divides. A ray is an angle bisector. So that's our P. A ray is an angle bisector. This is my abbreviation for symbol for angle. Our Q is going to be divides an angle into two congruent angles. This is the symbol for congruent. Alright, so now we want the two conditional statements. So the first one is going to be P then Q. If a ray is an angle bisector, then it divides an angle into two congruent angles. Oh my gosh, you can't even see what I'm writing. There we go. Alright. So now the second one is going to be Q, then P. If a ray divides an angle into two congruent angles, then it is an angle bisector. And you can see that these two statements are true. Therefore, you can have an if and only if. Alright, so why don't you try the got it? Right. Moving on to problem 3. Really need to get better at this angling. Is this definition of a quadrilateral reversible? If yes, write its biconditional. A quadrilateral is a polygon with 4 sides. So, is the reverse true? So let's look. Let's write the conditional. If a figure is a quadrilateral, then it is a polygon with 4 sides. That's our conditional. So let's see if the reverse is true. The converse. If a figure is a polygon with 4 sides, then it is a quadrilateral. So, is that true? So since they're both true, you can write an if and only if statement. A figure is a quadrilateral if and only if it is a polygon with 4 sides. Now, because the definition of a quadrilateral is a polygon with 4 sides, because it's reversible, when I mean reversible, I mean the converse is true, that means we could write an if and only if statement. Alright, so why don't you try to got it on problem 3. Let's look at problem 4. If this one's correct. Alright. Which of the following is a good definition? A fish is an animal that swims. B. Rectangles have 4 corners. C. Giraffes are animals with very long necks. D. A penny is worth 1 cent. So, what's a good definition? For A, a fish is an animal that swims. So there's probably about a few hundred others. So that's not a good definition. Rectangles have 4 corners. Well, I could tell you a lot of other shapes that also have 4 corners. C. Giraffes are animals with very long necks. What if my dog has a long neck? D. A penny is worth 1 cent. Is anything else worth 1 cent? No. This is always true. So, how they looked at it was not how I looked at it at all. Choice A is not reversible. Oh, I did look at it that way. Okay. Because you have a lot of other animals that swim. Choice B. Corners are not clearly defined. Choice C. Ostriches also have long necks. Oh, that's another animal. Okay. Choice D is good because 1 cent is a penny is worth 1 cent. So why don't you try to got it? I can go over any questions tomorrow.